Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today we're going to help you get faster around one of Formula One's most satisfying tracks, Australia. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comment section, or in my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections: car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. So here's the setup I run at the Albert Park circuit. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out this setup on your own. This setup prioritizes balanced aerodynamics, especially front end rotation, and an even distribution of downforce and straight line speed. As a disclaimer, this setup is a general baseline for you to start with, and applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. Heading into turn 1, stick to the left side of the track and watch for the meter boards on the left. These ones are a bit hard to spot since they're orange, but you want to brake just between the 100 and the 50 meter markers. A good way to remember this is that the 100 meter board comes right after this electronic flag sign on the left, so use that black sign as an indicator to know when your braking point is approaching. At the braking point now, you want to very hard jam in the brakes, but let off that pressure pretty quickly. This corner is taken pretty fast, so you don't want to be too slow. Once you've jammed the brakes and are coming off the pressure a bit, you want to downshift a few times. I prefer to go down to 4th gear. Start turning in a bit earlier than you think you have to. Again, this is a high-speed corner, so that natural understeer will probably kick in. The goal here is to pitch the car into the corner and stick as close as you possibly can to this inside curb. You might find it easy to spin if you take too much of this inside curb, so take a few practice laps to find the sweet spot. You want to start getting back on the power just before you reach this apex. Past this first inside curb, the corner transitions to a sweeping left. At this point, you should almost be at full throttle. Don't be afraid to be aggressive with the gas here. The aerodynamic grip keeps the car pretty planted at high speeds. Into the left now, aim to ride up on the curb with your left wheels. Full throttle now, stick on this left curb until the corner starts to open up, and naturally sway to the right side of the track. This last corner can be pretty difficult, especially with that initial turn-in, so don't be discouraged if it's too hard at first. Once to the right side of the track, use plenty of this outside exit curb, and enable DRS at the line. Full throttle now, and going up the gears, slowly sway towards the left side of the track. Watch for the meter boards on the left. You want a really hard jam of the brakes exactly at the 100 meter marker. Under braking now, keep the brake at full pressure for a while, and then slowly bleed off once you get close to the corner. Turning into the corner now, try to stick as close as you can to this inside curb, but I personally try to avoid touching it. At mid-corner now, start slowly getting back on the power, and follow through to the left side of the track on exit. As soon as you're on the left, try to switch back to the right as quickly as you can. The further on the right you are, the easier this next corner will be. On the right now, start turning in before this flag indicator on the right. This corner can be a bit tricky, but the best way through it is to slightly lift off the throttle just before the apex of the corner. After a slight lift at mid-corner, you can get back to around 75% throttle. Now, swaying to the right on exit, aim for this green and yellow curb, but try not to take too much of it. The second you start to straighten out, push from 75% to 100% throttle. Shifting up now and swaying to the left side of the track, aim to get close to the edge of this tarmac here. This sets up the next corner perfectly. This next right-hander is taken flat out, however you have to do it a certain way, otherwise you'll spin or exceed track limits. When turning into this corner, again, keep the throttle pinned all the way to the floor. Aim to create the straightest line possible through here, and try to get as close as you possibly can to this inside curb, but do not touch this curb. Touching this curb can instantly destabilize your car and send you spinning, or push you off your line. Throttle still pinned, and at mid-corner, sway to the left side of the track and use plenty of this exit curb. This one's a little bumpy, but with a proper line to the last corner, you should be fine. Also, make sure to keep it within track limits here. Now, full speed ahead and into the next corner. Alright, that's a look at Sector 1, now let's see it at full speed. Into the first corner of Sector 2 now, stick to the left side of the track. For this corner, it's best to judge your braking based on the distance to the corner. After a few laps, you'll be able to judge this properly. However, if you really need a reference point, you can brake about 2 or 3 meters after this orange section of wall on the right. For this corner, you want a quick, harsh jam of the brakes and a few downshifts. You should brake and turn in at pretty much the same time. Before you even reach the mid-corner point, get back on the power. You can safely go from 0 to about 80% throttle pretty quickly, as the downforce will keep you from spinning. Once exiting the corner, watch the curb on the left. Similar to turn 1, you want to aim your front left tire to ride this curb. Once you're straightened out, get back to full throttle. The exit of this corner can be pretty risky with track limits, so make sure to be precise here. Coming off the exit curb now, stick to the right side of the track. Once the corner starts opening up a bit, sway a little bit more towards the middle of the track. You should be in the middle once you reach this big sign overhead. Once this straight starts to tighten up on the right, pull back to the inside and enable DRS at the line. Now, fly down the rest of this high-speed section. That's a run-through of Sector 2, now let's see it at full speed. With DRS enabled and flying down this high-speed left-hand turn, stick to the left side of the track. As the corner straightens out, flow with the track in order to naturally sway to the right. On the right side of the track now, stick as close to the wall as you can. This next corner is the most famous one of the lap. This corner is very important, as going wide here compromises your run to the next corner and the following straight. Watch for the meter boards on the right. You want to brake exactly at the 50 meter board. This is a hard, sharp jam of the brakes and about 2 or 3 downshifts. As soon as you brake, turn into the corner. Here, you want to be as close as you possibly can to this inside curb. In the split second it took for you to brake, turn in, and reach this point, you should already be back on the throttle. Exiting the corner at full throttle now, you should find yourself in the middle of the track. Immediately pull back to the left. Now aim to get as close as you can to this inside curb, but try not to touch this one, it's a bit risky. While turning into the corner here, a slight lift may be necessary, but only very, very slight. Once passing this inside curb, keep the throttle pinned and aim for the exit curb on the left. This one can be shaky as well, but generally it's pretty safe. Try to keep it within track limits here. Throttle to the floor now, enable DRS at the line, and fly down this small straight. Cut close to the right side of the track here to create the straightest line. Once approaching the upcoming corner, watch for the meter boards on the left. You want to brake just before the 50 meter board here. Heavy braking now and downshifting, keep an eye on this inside curb. This one is very sharp and kind of protrudes into the corner, so I like to avoid touching it. Once at mid-corner now, start getting back on the throttle and sway out to the left, using the exit curb. After the rework of this track, you can get pretty aggressive getting back on the power whilst on this curb. At full throttle now, stick to the left side of the track. This next corner doesn't really have any reference points, but it's a pretty easy one. Watch the corner and turn in at the most natural point. Once turned in, a quick tap of the brakes is necessary right before you reach the curb. After that slight tap of the brakes, get back on the power as fast as you possibly can. Again, there's not much of a risk of spinning here, so steadily bring the throttle back up to 100% and use the exit curb on the left. As soon as you're off this curb, aim for the right side of the track. You want to brake right before the 50 meter board here. You need to trail brake pretty efficiently here, as you have to start turning into the corner right away. Slowly bringing that brake pressure down and turning in, aim to get close to this inside curb. Just past the mid-corner point, start slowly getting back on the power. It can be pretty easy to spin here, so be very cautious with the throttle. Once fully rotated around the corner and straightening out, keep applying more throttle pressure and switch to the left side of the track. The further left you can get, the better. On the left now, start turning into the corner. I like to short shift when going from 3rd to 4th gear here, as it helps with traction. Stay cautious with the throttle, but continuously increasing your input. Now, try to pull close to this inside curb. Once widening out a bit, sway to the left side of the track here and use some of this exit curb. At full throttle now, enable DRS and fly down the straight, completing the lap. That's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of Australia broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment on this video or in my Discord. Also, I've recently uploaded a track guide for Assetto Corsa, so check that out if you're interested. So, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.